In the quiet industrial town of Millbrook, nestled in the heart of northern England, Elizabeth Carter stood by the kitchen window, her fingers tracing the worn edges of an old medical textbook. The morning light cast long shadows across the small, modest kitchen, revealing the challenges that defined her daily life. At 22, Elizabeth carried the weight of her family's hopes on her slender shoulders. Her mother, Margaret, sat at the kitchen table, her hands gnarled by rheumatoid arthritis, watching her daughter with a mixture of pride and concern. They lived in a small terraced house, paint peeling and walls thin, but filled with a warmth that money could never buy. Elizabeth's day began before sunrise. She would slip on her worn bakery uniform, carefully preparing a simple breakfast for her mother before heading to her first job. The local bakery was a small, warm place where the smell of fresh bread filled the air. Elizabeth worked quickly, her hands moving with practiced efficiency, kneading dough and serving customers with a gentle smile that masked her inner struggles. The morning shift was just the beginning. By afternoon, she would change into her cleaning uniform, heading to the community center where she worked her second job. Between cleaning floors and organizing spaces, Elizabeth would steal moments to study. Her medical textbooks were her most precious possession, borrowed from the library, carefully protected, and read during every spare moment. Her dream of becoming a nurse seemed almost impossible. The financial burden was overwhelming. Medical training was expensive, and their family had barely enough to cover basic necessities. Margaret's medical treatments consumed most of their limited income, leaving little room for Elizabeth's aspirations. But Elizabeth was different. She possessed a quiet determination that burned brighter than any obstacle. Each night, after caring for her mother and completing her household chores, she would sit at the kitchen table, surrounded by medical books and handwritten notes. Her childhood friend, Robert Thompson, would sometimes stop by, bringing her cups of tea and words of encouragement. "You're going to make it," Robert would say, watching her study. "I've never met anyone as dedicated as you." Elizabeth's world was small but full of love. Her mother, despite her physical pain, was her greatest supporter. "Education is the only way out," Margaret would remind her, her eyes filled with hope. "You can create a better life." The town of Millbrook was typical of many industrial communities, struggling but resilient. People knew each other, supported each other. Elizabeth was known as the hard-working girl who took care of her mother and dreamed of becoming a nurse. The local shopkeepers would give her extra bread, the librarian would save special medical journals for her. Small acts of kindness. That kept her hope alive. Her days were a delicate balance of work, study, and care. She would wake before dawn, prepare her mother's medications, ensure she was comfortable, then rush to her bakery job. The early morning customers knew her by name, the quiet girl with determination in her eyes. She would knead bread with the same intensity she approached her studies, each movement purposeful and precise. At the community center, her cleaning job allowed her moments of quiet study. Between mopping floors and organizing rooms, she would review her medical notes, her mind constantly working towards her dream. The center's staff had grown to respect her, seeing not just a cleaner, but a young woman with extraordinary potential. Nights were her sanctuary. After ensuring her mother was comfortable, after completing household chores, she would spread her books across the kitchen table. The small lamp would cast a warm glow, illuminating her notes, her dreams taking shape in pencil markings and carefully underlined texts. Robert would sometimes bring additional study materials, understanding her passion. "You're going to change lives," he would say, leaving extra medical journals he found at the local bookstore. Elizabeth's world was small, but her dreams were enormous. She represented countless young people who refused to let circumstances define their future. Her quiet strength was her greatest asset, a determination that burned silently but intensely. In this moment, in the early morning light of her modest kitchen, Elizabeth Carter represented hope. Not the loud, dramatic hope of big speeches, but the quiet, persistent hope of someone who believed that hard work could transform dreams into reality. The community health fair arrived like an unexpected gift, bringing a glimmer of possibility to Millbrook's modest community center. Elizabeth stood near the back of the crowded room, her cleaning uniform still slightly damp from her morning shift, watching the hospital representatives set up their information stands. Dr. William Henderson, a senior doctor from the local hospital, was announcing a special scholarship. His voice carried across the room, speaking about supporting local talent and giving opportunities to hard-working young people from working-class backgrounds. Elizabeth felt her heart racing, hands slightly trembling as she listened. Robert Thompson, her childhood friend, nudged her gently. "This is your chance," he whispered, his eyes bright with excitement. "You should apply." Self-doubt crept into Elizabeth's mind immediately. Who was she to believe she could compete? She was just a girl who cleaned floors and baked bread, spending her evenings studying medical textbooks borrowed from the library. Her mother's medical treatments consumed most of their limited income, and her own dreams seemed like distant, impossible fantasies. The scholarship application required multiple documents, academic records, work history, and a personal essay. Elizabeth knew each piece of paper would need to tell her story perfectly. She spent nights carefully crafting her application, her handwriting neat and precise, describing her passion for healthcare and her dream of becoming a nurse. Her mother, Margaret, watched her work with quiet pride. Despite her painful arthritis, she would sit beside Elizabeth, offering gentle encouragement. "Your father would be so proud," she would say, remembering the husband she had lost years ago. The application process was nerve-wracking. Elizabeth submitted her documents with trembling hands, knowing the competition would be fierce. Other applicants would likely have more resources, better connections, smoother paths to their dreams. Weeks passed slowly. Each day felt like an eternity of waiting. Elizabeth continued her routine, morning shifts at the bakery, cleaning at the community center, caring for her mother, studying whenever possible. But now, a thread of hope ran through her daily life, a possibility that things might change. Robert became her biggest supporter during this waiting period. He would bring her extra study materials, encourage her when her confidence wavered, and remind her of her potential. "You work harder than anyone I know," he would say, his belief in her unwavering. The local community seemed to sense something was happening. Shopkeepers would ask about her application, the librarian would offer encouraging smiles, and her bakery colleagues would share supportive whispers. Millbrook was a town that celebrated individual achievements, particularly when they represented hope for everyone. One ordinary Thursday afternoon changed everything. Elizabeth was cleaning the community center when the hospital's envelope arrived. Her hands shook as she opened it, her heart beating so loudly she could barely hear her own thoughts. The letter was thick. That alone suggested something significant. Scholarship acceptance, partial funding, but enough to make her nursing dream possible. Enough to provide hope, to create a pathway she had only dreamed about. Elizabeth stood in the empty community center, tears streaming down her face. This was more than a scholarship, this was validation. This was proof that hard work, determination, and quiet persistence could overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. Her mother's reaction was pure joy. "We'll make this work," Margaret said, holding her daughter's hands. "Together, we'll find a way to cover the remaining costs." The news spread quickly through Millbrook. The local newspaper wanted to interview her. The community center staff celebrated, and Robert's excitement was infectious. "I always knew you would do something extraordinary," he told her. But for Elizabeth, this was more than a personal victory. This was a moment of hope for everyone who had ever felt their dreams were out of reach. A cleaning girl, a daughter caring for her sick mother, could become a nurse, could change her life, could change her community's future. The scholarship was a door opening, a possibility emerging from years of hard work and quiet determination. Elizabeth understood that this was just the beginning of her journey, but what a beautiful beginning it was. Her dream was no longer just a dream. It was becoming real, one careful step at a time. The nursing program transformed Elizabeth's world completely. From her first day, she discovered that dreams and reality were two very different landscapes. The hospital training corridors felt Both exciting and terrifying, her clean white uniform a symbol of her hard-earned opportunity. Early mornings became a delicate dance of responsibilities. She would wake before sunrise, prepare her mother's medications, ensure Margaret was comfortable, then rush to her clinical training. Her nursing textbooks were always tucked carefully in her worn messenger bag, pages marked with colorful sticky notes representing countless hours of dedicated study. Mrs. Henderson, her senior clinical supervisor, was a sharp-eyed woman with decades of medical experience. She watched Elizabeth closely during those first challenging weeks, observing her dedication and unusual work ethic. While other nursing students complained about long hours, Elizabeth worked with quiet determination. "So you have something special," Mrs. Henderson told her one afternoon, watching Elizabeth carefully change a patient's bandage. "A genuine care that can't be taught in any textbook." The hospital was a world of constant motion and human stories. Elizabeth discovered that nursing was far more than medical procedures. It was about understanding human vulnerability, offering comfort, and providing hope during people's most challenging moments. Her first real test came unexpectedly. An elderly patient, Mr. Thomas Reynolds, was struggling with severe anxiety before a complex surgical procedure. While other nurses moved quickly, Elizabeth sat beside him, holding his hand, explaining each step with calm, reassuring words. "You remind me of my daughter," Mr. Reynolds whispered, squeezing her hand. His simple statement became a moment of profound connection, reinforcing Elizabeth's understanding of healthcare's true meaning. Balancing work, study, and family responsibilities remained challenging. She would often return home exhausted, her feet aching, her mind filled with medical terminologies and patient stories. Margaret would have a warm meal prepared, listening intently as Elizabeth shared her day's experiences. Robert continued supporting her journey. He would occasionally bring her extra medical journals, help with household chores when her mother needed additional care, and provide emotional support during her most challenging moments. Financial pressures remained constant. The B partial scholarship covered some expenses, but Elizabeth still needed to work part-time. She picked up additional shifts at the hospital, working as a medical assistant during weekends, determined to minimize her family's financial burden. Her clinical training revealed unexpected challenges. Some procedures felt overwhelming, some patient interactions emotionally draining. But Elizabeth's resilience became her greatest strength. She approached each challenge as a learning opportunity, her quiet determination pushing her forward. Mrs. Henderson recognized Elizabeth's potential. Early, she began providing extra guidance, sharing professional insights that went beyond standard medical training. "A great nurse understands human vulnerability," she would tell Elizabeth. "Medical knowledge is important, but compassion is everything." The hospital became Elizabeth's second home. She learned quickly that each patient carried a unique story. Each medical procedure represented human vulnerability. Her ability to connect, to offer genuine care, set her apart from other nursing students. Her mother watched her transformation with quiet pride. Despite her own physical limitations, Margaret understood the significance of Elizabeth's journey. "How you're not just becoming a nurse," she would say, "you're becoming a healer." Elizabeth's world expanded beyond Millbrook's small industrial landscape. Her nursing training introduced her to complex human experiences, medical challenges, and the profound responsibility of healthcare professionals. Some nights, returning home exhausted, she would wonder if she could continue. The workload seemed overwhelming, the emotional demands intense. But then she would look at her mother, remember her family's sacrifices, and find renewed strength. Her classmates respected her unique journey. While they came from different backgrounds, they recognized Elizabeth's extraordinary commitment. She wasn't just studying to become a nurse, she was transforming her entire family's future. As her first semester progressed, Elizabeth realized that her dream was becoming reality. Each medical procedure learned, each patient interaction experienced, represented a step closer to her ultimate goal. The challenges were significant, but her spirit remained unbroken. In the heart of the hospital, wearing her crisp white uniform, Elizabeth Carter was becoming more than just a nursing student. She was becoming a symbol of hope, resilience, and the extraordinary potential hidden within ordinary lives. Her journey was just beginning, but her determination was already legendary. The winter of Elizabeth's second nursing year arrived with unexpected challenges. Her mother's health deteriorated rapidly, medical treatments becoming increasingly expensive. Margaret's rheumatoid arthritis had transformed from a manageable condition to a serious medical crisis. Elizabeth's world began to crack under immense pressure. Her nursing studies demanded complete attention, her part-time hospital work provided critical income, and her mother's medical needs consumed every remaining resource. Some nights she would sit on the cold kitchen floor, medical bills spread around her, tears silently falling. The hospital bills were crushing. Each treatment for Margaret cost more than Elizabeth could earn in multiple months. Her scholarship. Money was rapidly disappearing, used for her mother's medications instead of her own educational expenses. Robert discovered her silent struggle. One cold evening, he found Elizabeth calculating medical expenses, her hands shaking, her face pale with exhaustion. "I might have to quit nursing," she whispered, the words feeling like a betrayal of her lifelong dream. Her clinical supervisor, Mrs. Henderson, noticed Elizabeth's declining performance. The once bright student was now making small mistakes, her usual precision replaced by visible emotional exhaustion. During one particularly challenging shift, Elizabeth accidentally mixed medication labels, catching herself just before a potential serious error. "Something's wrong," Mrs. Henderson told her directly. "Your work is suffering." The breaking point came unexpectedly. Margaret's condition required a specialized treatment unavailable through standard medical insurance. The cost was astronomical, more than their entire family had ever possessed. Elizabeth began considering impossible choices. Should she quit nursing to work full-time? Should she take additional loans? The weight of her family's survival pressed against her dreams like an unbearable burden. Her nights became a blur of studying, caring, and crying. She would study medical textbooks with her mother sleeping beside her, monitoring her breathing, checking her medications. The line between daughter and nurse blurred completely. The local community started noticing her struggle. Shopkeepers who had watched her grow up began offering small helps, extra bread, reduced grocery prices, quiet financial support. But these were drops in an ocean of medical expenses. Robert, understanding the depth of her crisis, made a decision that would change everything. He secretly approached the local community fund, presenting Elizabeth's extraordinary story. Her dedication, her mother's condition, her nursing potential, all became part of a compelling narrative. Without Elizabeth's knowledge, Robert worked tirelessly. He collected recommendation letters from her hospital supervisors, gathered documentation of her mother's medical condition, and crafted a compelling case for additional financial support. The community fund's decision came like unexpected sunlight. They agreed to provide supplementary medical support for Margaret's treatment, reducing Elizabeth's financial burden significantly. The support wasn't complete, but it was a lifeline. When Elizabeth discovered Robert's intervention, her response was a mixture of gratitude and pride. "You didn't need to do this," she told him, tears filling her eyes. "Someone needed to," Robert responded simply. Mrs. Henderson also played a critical role. Understanding Elizabeth's potential, she arranged additional hospital work opportunities that fit around her nursing studies. Each small intervention became a stepping stone towards maintaining her dream. The breaking point, which had seemed so final, transformed into a moment of community support and personal resilience. Elizabeth's journey was no longer just her individual struggle, but a collective story of hope. Her mother, understanding the sacrifices being made, became her strongest supporter. "You will complete your nursing," Margaret would say firmly. "Our family's future depends on your dreams." Elizabeth's determination rekindled. The challenges had not defeated her, they had tempered her spirit. Each obstacle became a lesson, each struggle a source of strength. As winter began to fade, Elizabeth's world started reassembling. Her nursing studies continued, her mother's health stabilized, and her dream remained intact. The breaking point had not broken her, it had revealed her true strength. In the quiet moments between studies and care, Elizabeth understood that her journey was about more than personal achievement. It was about resilience, about hope, about the extraordinary power of human connection. Her story was just beginning, and its potential was unlimited. The graduation day arrived with unexpected brilliance, sunlight streaming through the hospital's grand hall. Elizabeth stood among her fellow nursing graduates, her crisp white uniform representing years of struggle, determination, and hope. Her mother, Margaret, sat in the front row, tears of pride glistening in her eyes. Robert stood beside her, his quiet support a testament to their long friendship. The entire community of Millbrook seemed to have gathered to witness this moment. Mrs. Henderson, her clinical supervisor, watched Elizabeth with a sense of profound satisfaction. The quiet girl who had entered the nursing program years ago had transformed into a compassionate, skilled professional who understood healthcare was about more than medical procedures. Elizabeth's journey had been anything but simple. Each step had been a battle. Financial struggles, her mother's health challenges, and her own moments of self-doubt. But she had persevered, turning obstacles into opportunities. During the graduation ceremony, Elizabeth was unexpectedly called forward. The hospital's chief administrator presented her with a special recognition award for exceptional dedication and community service. Her work during clinical training had not gone unnoticed. Elizabeth Carter represents the true spirit of nursing, the administrator announced. She demonstrates that healthcare is about compassion, resilience, and genuine human connection. The words echoed through the hall, capturing the essence of Elizabeth's extraordinary journey. From a bakery worker and cleaning staff to a fully qualified nurse, her transformation was a beacon of hope for everyone in Millbrook. Her first nursing assignment was at the same hospital where she had trained. The familiar corridors now felt different. She was no longer a student but a professional, ready to make a difference in people's lives. Margaret's health had improved significantly. The community support, Elizabeth's nursing knowledge, and their combined determination had helped her manage her condition more effectively. Their small terraced house, once a symbol of struggle, now represented triumph. Robert's support remained constant. He had become more than a friend. He was family. His belief in Elizabeth had never wavered, even during her most challenging moments. Their relationship had grown deeper, built on mutual respect and shared struggles. Elizabeth discovered that nursing was more than a profession. It was a calling. Each patient became a story, each medical procedure an opportunity to provide comfort and hope. Her approach was different from other nurses. She listened, she connected, she cared. The local community continued to celebrate her achievement. The bakery where she had worked, the community center where she had cleaned, all remembered her journey. She had become a symbol of what was possible when determination met opportunity. Her first few months as a qualified nurse were transformative. She worked primarily in the community ward, dealing with patients from backgrounds similar to her own. Her understanding of struggle and hope made her an exceptional caregiver. Mrs. Henderson watched her progress with pride. "You're not just treating patients," she would tell Elizabeth. "You're healing communities." Elizabeth's story began to inspire others. Young people from Millbrook started seeing healthcare as a possible career. Her journey proved that background and financial limitations were not permanent barriers to achieving dreams. The hospital recognized her unique approach. She was invited to develop community health programs, focusing on preventative care and patient education. Her work began to extend beyond individual treatment to community-wide health initiatives. Margaret's pride knew no bounds. "Your father would have been so proud," she would say, remembering the husband she had lost years ago. Elizabeth had become everything they had once only dreamed about. Robert's support transformed into something deeper. Their friendship, tested by years of shared struggles, hinted at the possibility of a future together. But for now, their focus remained on Elizabeth's growing professional impact. As years passed, Elizabeth became more than a nurse. She became a community leader, a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of perseverance. Her journey from a small, industrial town to a respected healthcare professional represented the extraordinary potential hidden within ordinary lives. Her story was not just about personal achievement. It was about the power of community, the strength of family, and the incredible potential that exists when determination meets opportunity. Elizabeth Carter had transformed her dream into reality, one careful step at a time.